World Rivers, Part 21. The Nile provided enterprising Egyptians with the material to form a powerful civilization. From papyrus, a tall reed that grew in the river, Egyptians made a sort of paper, as well as rope, cloth, and baskets. Egyptians also built great cities, temples, and monuments along the river, including tombs of their monarchs or pharaoh. Many of these ancient monuments are still standing. The Congo River flows across the middle of Africa through a huge equatorial rainforest before emptying in the Atlantic Ocean. The Congo is second only to the Amazon in terms of water flow. It is the deepest river in the world, with mile depth of more than 230 meters, which is 750 feet. Huge urban areas, including the capital cities of Brazzaville, Republic of Congo, and Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of Congo, sit on the banks of the river. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, the river is principal highway for transporting goods such as cotton, coffee, and sugar. Boats traveling the river range from dugout canoes to the large freighters. The river also supplies an abundance of fish to Central Africa. Fishermen use baskets and nets hung from high poles across rushing falls and rapids to catch fish. They also use more traditional nets operated from either onshore or on boats. Rivers of Australia. Much of Australia is arid, but rivers still run through it. Australia's principal rivers are Murray and the Darling rivers, River Murray and River Darling. Both in the southeastern part of the continent, the Murray flows some 2,590 kilometers from the Snowy Mountains to the lagoon on the Indian Ocean. Near the town of Wentworth, the Murray is joined by Darling, which is a 2,739 kilometer long river that flows from the highlands of the eastern coast. Indigenous Australians placed great importance on the Murray River. The Murray Valley had the greatest population density in the continent before the arrival of the Europeans in 1600. By the mid 1800s, European farmers had settled along both rivers and some of their tributaries. Most Australian farmers raised sheep and cattle. Riverboats began ploughing the waters, and towns grew up along the banks. Much of Australia's farmland still lies within the Murray Darling Basin, where river waters irrigate some 1.2 million hectares. The region is the chief supplier of the country's agricultural exports: wool, beef, wheat, and oranges. Polluted rivers. For centuries, people have depended on rivers for many things. Rivers have provided waterways for shipping, convenient construction sites for cities, and fertile lands for farming. Such extensive use of rivers has contributed to their pollution. River pollution has come from directly dumping garbage and sewage, disposal of toxic waste from factories and agricultural runoff containing fertilizers and pesticides. By the 1960s, many of the world's rivers were so polluted that fish and other wildlife could no longer survive in them. Their waters became unsafe for drinking, swimming, and other uses. One of the most famous examples of a polluted river was Cuyahoga. The Cuyahoga is a busy river in the US state of Ohio that empties into the Lake Erie. It is a major highway for goods and services from the Midwest to the Great Lakes. In 1969, the oily pollution in the Cuyahoga was so great that the river actually caught fire, something it had done more than a dozen times in the 19th and 20th century. Tell you the more about the same in my next videos as I move along with them.